2024, I read 5,400 books. I'm just kidding. I read 54. That's pretty average for me. Every year I set a goal around 50 and I adjust it accordingly. As we do. 52% of the books that I read were fiction and 48% were nonfiction, and that's around where I like to be, 50-50 nonfiction and fiction. So these are my top 10 favorite nonfiction books of 2024. If you would like to introduce more nonfiction in your reading goals in 2025, you should join the Morbidly Curious Book Club. We read a lot of weird stuff like this, like my number 10 book, Pathogenesis by Dr. Jonathan Kennedy. This is a history of the world in 8 plagues, and when I actually first read this, I gave it 4 stars, but the more I thought about it, and the more I revisited it, it's a 5-star book. Absolutely fascinating if you're interested in why plagues have shaped humanity and religious practices and death and etc, etc, etc. Definitely check out this book. I had a great conversation with Dr. Jonathan Kennedy for the Morbidly Curious Book Club podcast. I'm going to try and make these a little bit more brief. If you're into true crime, you have to read Haley Rubenhold's The Five, the untold story of the women killed by Jack the Ripper, because they have been demonized over time, over and over and over again, and Haley Rubenhold sets the record straight. The Indifferent Stars Above by Daniel James Brown was a Morbidly Curious Book Club pick about the Donner Party December 2023, but I didn't read it until January 2024. And this is a little dry at times, but push through. It's a fantastic account of what exactly happened, and he does have a connection with some of the people in the Donner Party, so it was fascinating to see him revisit these places and talk about them in this book. 5 Days at Memorial by Sherry Fink has been recommended to me probably more than any other nonfiction book, and I'm glad I read it. It is going to be a future book club pick. It's probably one of the most morbid books that I've ever read, and this is about Memorial Hospital after Hurricane Katrina in New Orleans. Also, I didn't really love the Apple TV adaptation. If you watched that, let me know. Actually, Stiff might be the one that's recommended to me most by Mary Roach, and I'm glad I finally read it. This was phenomenal, and it is a Morbidly Curious Book Club pick of May 2025. If you're at all interested in human cadavers, read this book. If you are not interested in human cadavers, you should still read this book. It's fantastic. I have all of Mary Roach's books. I'm not sure which one to read next. You tell me. Cannibalism, A Perfectly Natural History by Bill Shutt was our September 2024 book club pick, and I actually was not expecting to like this one as much as I did, but I absolutely loved it. Bill Shutt in his books explores the topic in the animal kingdom, and then he translates that over to humans, and why exactly humans eat each other, whether it's culturally or religious practices, or what exactly it means to do it, and why certain cultures don't do it. Fantastic. And there is a crazy chapter in here about a placenta. The Stranger Beside Me by Anne Rule I was not expecting also to love as much as I did, but this is one of those books that I fell into and had a hard time coming up for air without finishing the part that I was currently at. This is about her relationship with Ted Bundy and how complicated that was, and this kind of goes to show how Anne Rule was also a victim of Ted Bundy in a different kind of way. Would recommend it. And this is the updated version. I believe this is the last version. There might be another updated version, but she explores and adds chapters as the years have gone on, because this was written in the 80s, I believe. The Devil at His Elbow, Alec Murdoch in the Fall of a Southern Dynasty, and boy did it fall. Did actually get to see her at Quail Ridge Books, where she was signing the books. Great discussion. I actually am not too familiar with the Murdoch trial, so this was a great kind of catching up point because it's still kind of ongoing. Boy howdy, was this a lot. So well researched though, cannot recommend this enough. I'm pretty sure this will be a future book club pick. I cannot find my copy of Madness, and I know I'm going to be able to find it right when I finish recording this video, but this is Race and Insanity in a Jim Crow Asylum by Antonia Hilton. Just impeccable book. Read it for book club. If you guys are wanting nonfiction books for your book club, read this one. It's a great discussion book. Cannot recommend Antonia Hilton's writing enough. Like, her research process was fantastic too, and I love how she incorporated her own family's mental illnesses into like this book and the research and what exactly that looks like in the shadow of a Jim Crow era. Fantastic. Keep running out of breath. My favorite nonfiction book of 2024 was Carrie, Carolyn, Coco by Sarah Gerard. This is My Friend, Her Murder, and an Obsession with the Unthinkable. This was just so well done. And the reviews are so low. I don't know why. Maybe it just worked for me, because this was a very interesting way of telling the story and what exactly happened. But this book was also just infuriating, because you have a murderer who is backed by many supporters, like important people who work at schools and stuff, and it makes you just want to throw this at a wall. But it's a story that needs to be told. And there's still a lot of support for Carrie, Carolyn, Coco. Those are all her nicknames, still to this day. Those are my favorite nonfiction books of 2024. Let me know if you've read any of these. Let me know if I've put any of these on your radar. And again, if you'd like to read more nonfiction, check out the Morbidly Curious Book Club. And I'm going to film my favorite fiction books of 2024.